After a year-long business trip overseas, I suddenly received a selfie from my daughter. "Dad, Lily misses you." I thought she was feeling down because she missed me, and was about to reply to comfort her when a scratch on her collar caught my attention. Zooming in on the photo, I noticed not only a scratch on her neck but also dark bruises on her arms. Suspicious, I happened to see my foster daughter, Scarlett, posting about her birthday gifts on social media, each one incredibly expensive. And on her bedside table, there was Lily's favorite stuffed animal. I had given her that stuffed animal on her 3rd birthday, and she couldn't sleep without it. How did it end up on Scarlett's bedside table? I called my wife, Ashley, back home, but she accused me of making a big deal out of nothing. "It's just an old stuffed animal. Maybe Lily didn't like it anymore and gave it to Scarlett." The more I thought about it, the more suspicious I became. I checked Scarlett's spending records and was shocked by what I found. Worst of all, my wife was condoning it. 1. I had just signed a multi-billion-dollar contract with a major overseas client when I received the selfie from my daughter. Seeing her looking so sad, I felt a pang of heartache. I wanted to tell her I'd be back in a few days and we could go on vacation together to cheer her up. But noticing the faint marks on her body, I became wary. I subtly asked her a few questions, but she became incoherent and eventually stopped replying altogether. I tried to check her social media to see what she'd been up to, but I stumbled upon a post from Scarlett yesterday showcasing her gifts. To my surprise, Lily's inseparable stuffed animal was on Scarlett's bedside table. I remember when Lily was little, she went to her grandmother's house and cried incessantly because she didn't have her stuffed animal with her. She even developed a high fever in the middle of the night, nearly damaging her brain. Ever since then, we made sure to bring her stuffed animal with us wherever we went. I called Ashley to ask about the stuffed animal, but she thought I was being paranoid. Lily's already 13. She's grown up. Isn't it normal for her not to like stuffed animals anymore? Maybe Lily didn't like it anymore and gave it to Scarlett. Okay, focus on your work and don't overthink it. Her tone was impatient, and she even hung up on me after saying that last sentence. Her unusual attitude made me feel increasingly uneasy. Ashley had always been very loving towards Lily. When Lily was little, she would panic if she even scraped her knee and cry, wanting to take her to the hospital. The incident with Lily almost damaging her brain because of the stuffed animal left me with lingering fears. I couldn't believe she didn't remember. But in the past 2 years, her attitude towards Lily seemed to have cooled. Even when Lily accidentally cut her hand, she would just indifferently tell her to clean it with antiseptic. After some thought, I decided to drop everything and go back home. I handed over the final tasks to my colleague and booked a flight home that night. While waiting to board, I checked Scarlett's social media again. But this time, her entire profile was blank. I remembered I had a fake account that was following her, so I used that account to access her profile. Sure enough, the pictures were still there, but she had blocked me. I carefully examined the photos and noticed that everything around her was luxury goods. A 13-year-old girl was using a limited edition Gucci bag, and the necklace around her neck, after some research, was worth over $10,000. She was just a foster daughter I'd been supporting for the past 2 years. Where did she get all this money? Furthermore, I'd always taught Lily not to be competitive or showy. The most expensive clothes she owned would never cost more than $1,000. To learn more, I called the housekeeper and the driver to ask about Scarlett. But to my surprise, they all said the same thing: Scarlett was especially well behaved at home. They said she was frugal, wearing her clothes until they were threadbare and not wanting to replace them. The more they praised her, the more suspicious I became. It seemed like they were all in on it together. If Scarlett was so frugal, how could she explain her bag and necklace? Was I really just being paranoid? 2. When the company found out I was returning home, they all volunteered to pick me up from the airport. They said they hadn't seen their boss in almost a year, and they might not recognize me if I didn't come back soon. Over the years, I had worked my way up from a low-level employee to building a thriving company through my own efforts. And this year was the most important year for the company's rapid advancement, so I had spent less time with my family. Before I even boarded the plane, I was already eager to get home and see my wife and precious daughter. After a 3-hour flight, I finally arrived at my destination. I declined the company's welcome dinner and took a taxi home. It was 11 p.m., a time when everyone should be sound asleep, but I saw the lights were still on in my daughter's room. Without alerting anyone, I quietly went to her room and found her doing homework, her face filled with anxiety and her eyes vacant. Seeing this, I felt a wave of sadness. I thought she must have too much homework from school, having to rush to finish it so late. I pushed open the door, wanting to surprise her. But when she heard the noise, she instinctively covered her face. She recoiled as if she had been greatly startled. "Lily, don't be afraid. It's Dad." Hearing my voice, she froze for a moment and then threw herself into my arms. "Dad, you're finally back." She sobbed, tears streaming down her face, but she seemed afraid to cry out loud, worried about waking the family. I held her and patted her back, comforting her. "Dad's back. Why are you doing homework so late?" I reached for her notebook, but she snatched it away. But I still saw the name on the cover, Scarlet Sue. The notebook wasn't hers. Just then, a figure appeared in the doorway, timidly calling out, "Dad, when did you get back?" Standing in the doorway was my foster daughter, Scarlet Sue. I looked at her and pointed to the notebook. "Scarlet, why is your notebook in Lily's room?" A flash of panic crossed Scarlet's eyes, and she looked at Lily. "My sister thought I had too much homework, so she offered to help me with it." Lily lowered her head. "Yes, I offered to help my sister with her homework. It has nothing to do with her." Her voice trembled, and her body shook, looking very frightened. But I wasn't satisfied with this answer and continued to look at Scarlet. She looked nonchalant and just smiled. "You heard her. My sister said she offered to help me with my homework. I didn't force her to do it. Right, sister?" She drew out the word sister. It didn't sound wrong to me, but Lily turned pale when she heard it. "Yes, sister." Her submissive behavior broke my heart and made me even angrier. She was supposed to be the most precious princess in this family. When did she become beholden to an outsider? "Scarlet, take your homework back and do it yourself. Don't always expect others to do your work for you." Scarlet didn't dare to argue and went back to her room with her homework. Getting closer to my daughter, I realized she had dark circles under her eyes, as if she hadn't rested in a long time. Most importantly, her complexion was terrible, pale and gaunt, completely different from how she looked before I left on my business trip. Lily grabbed my hand tightly, as if afraid I would leave again. "Dad, are you not leaving again this time?" Her tone was pleading, filling me with pity. "Dad's not leaving. I'm staying home to be with Lily." I had been so focused on making money all these years, thinking that providing my daughter with a rich material life was enough love or her. But now I realized I was completely wrong. At her age, her mental health was just as important, and material possessions couldn't replace that. Sometimes, spending time with her was more important than providing more material things. I asked about her mother, and Lily's eyes became even more frightened. Mom said she had work at the company and would be home very late tonight. I was even more puzzled. Why would the company need her to work so late? I told Lily to go to bed early, but she insisted on sleeping in my room. I had no choice but to let her sleep in the master bedroom, and I slept on a makeshift bed on the floor to be with her. Before going to sleep, I told her a story and then asked her again about the scratches on her neck and arms. But when she heard this, she glanced at the door in terror and then stammered for a long time. "Dad, don't ask. I accidentally did it to myself." Seeing that she didn't want to answer, I didn't press her. But my heart felt like it had a thorn stuck in it, making me very uncomfortable. At her beautiful age, she should be lively and cheerful. Seeing her looking so sad and timid, I felt a pang of heartache. The more she acted like this, the stronger my sense of guilt became, blaming myself for not giving her enough care. I decided to put aside my work for the time being and focus on spending time with my daughter, taking her on a trip to relax. I wanted to call Ashley and tell her not to work late and come home to be with our daughter, but she was impatient. "I'm busy with a new company I started with a friend. You take care of her first." She had never mentioned starting a company to me. She always liked to act first and tell me later. I was always the last to know. I had grown used to this. 2 years ago, Ashley suddenly brought home a girl, saying that she felt sorry for her and that she reminded her of Lily. She also said she was afraid Lily would be lonely and wanted to give her a playmate, so she decided to supper this little girl. I was against it at first. I thought we could support her, but there was no need to bring her home. But Ashley gave me the cold shoulder over this, and to keep the peace in the family, I had no choice but to compromise. But as soon as Scarlett came to our house, she saw that Lily's room was beautifully decorated and demanded that Lily give her the room. She would even take Lily's favorite foods without asking, not acting like someone who was living under someone else's roof. I complained to Ashley about this several times, but she said that a little girl couldn't have bad intentions and was just being straightforward. I had thought that having another child in the house would make Lily's personality more lively and cheerful. But she didn't seem to be happier because of it. Instead, she had worries that were usually only found in adults at such a young age. I didn't want my daughter to lack parental companionship and for her growth to be neglected because I was focused on my career. I decided to prioritize family in my plans going forward. Watching Lily fall asleep peacefully, I smiled contentedly. But a sudden shout from downstairs startled Lily awake. I quickly went downstairs and found Scarlett sitting cross-legged on the sofa playing video games, cursing incessantly. You bunch of idiots! Do you even know how to play? Seeing this, I was furious. Scarlett, keep it down. Lily's asleep. But Scarlett didn't even look at me and spoke impatiently. What does it matter to me if she's asleep? Don't bother me while I'm playing. I'm about to lose. She didn't seem to understand her place. I turned off the internet, and Scarlett jumped to her feet in anger. Why did you turn off the internet? Do you know I was about to win? I glared at her coldly. Do you think you can do whatever you want here, like it's your own home? I told you to be quiet. Did you hear me? If it happens again, you can leave. Seeing that I was really angry, Scarlett glanced at me resentfully and muttered, "My mom would never yell at me like that." After saying that, she went back to her room unhappily and slammed the door, making the entire mansion shake. I had already made up my mind. Once Ashley came home, I would send Scarlett back to where she came from and stop supporting her. The next morning, the housekeeper, April Sue, knocked on my door and said breakfast was ready. I told Lily to wash up and then went downstairs to the dining room together. On the way downstairs, we ran into Scarlett. In that instant, Lily hid behind me like a mouse seeing a cat, avoiding Scarlett's gaze. I couldn't understand why she was so terrified of Scarlett. I took Lily's hand and went to the dining room. The two of us sat together, and Scarlett sat across from us. But when I saw that April Sue had brought different breakfasts for the two girls, I immediately became angry. Auntie Sue, why are these breakfasts different? Scarlett's has fresh milk, but Lily's doesn't? April Sue was nonchalant. Scarlett is growing. She needs to drink more fresh milk. Lily, well, she drank milk every day when she was little and got too much nutrition. Drinking so much milk now would just be a waste of food. I slammed my fist on the table, making everyone too afraid to speak. Do you hear what you're saying? What do you mean by too much nutrition? My own daughter, is she not worthy of drinking milk? April Sue muttered a few things under her breath before saying unhappily, "I'll get her a glass of milk now." She was gone for almost half an hour before bringing back a glass of milk and slamming it heavily on the table. There's no fresh milk left. Only frozen milk. I frowned. How could there be no fresh milk? I remember we order several pounds of fresh milk every day, enough for the whole family to drink for a day. April Sue glanced at Scarlett guiltily before explaining, "There are a lot of people in the house, so naturally, we use more." I asked my daughter directly, "Do you usually drink a lot of milk?" Lily was about to shake her head, but seeing Scarlett looking at her, she immediately changed her answer. Yes, I do." At this moment, I understood something. April Sue's actions were too suspicious. What was even more suspicious was that her last name was Sue. And what was even more coincidental was that the driver's last name was also Sue. Was this all just a coincidence? I remembered that Ashley had hired the driver and the housekeeper, saying that they were her distant relatives and that they were trustworthy. I had wanted to install security cameras in the house, but Ashley said it would be an invasion of privacy and refused my request. Now that there were no cameras, I could only find out the truth in other ways. I remembered that Ashley had once asked me for a credit card. I thought she was using it, so I didn't think much of it. But just a few days ago, I accidentally received a notification about a large purchase of a Gucci bag. At first, I thought it was Ashley's purchase. But now that I thought about it, she didn't seem to use that brand of bag. I went into the app to check the spending records, and my face turned dark. In just 1 month, nearly $20,000 had been charged to the card. I randomly found the store where the purchases were made and called them. I was furious at what I heard. They told me that the purchases were made by a girl around 15 years old with a mole on her face. She was very generous and bought each of the 2 girls with her a gift. The girl with a mole on her face was Scarlett Sue. Suppressing my anger, I also found the in-car recording from the dashcam, and the veins on the back of my hand bulged. The driver was hired specifically to take my daughter to school, but in the year that I was abroad, the driver only took 1 person to school, Scarlett Sue. So what about my daughter Lily? How did she get to school? I couldn't help but confront Scarlett, but I ran into a familiar face. Uncle Chin, our Tem. Porry Gardner, was also my distant uncle, a trustworthy elder. He only came a few times each month to weed our garden and prune the plants, but I still paid him a monthly salary. So all these years, he had been diligent, not only doing his job but also occasionally watching the house for me and doing odd jobs. He looked surprised to see me, but I also saw a hint of hesitation in his eyes. I pulled him aside to a quiet corner. Uncle Chin, did you have something to say to me earlier? Uncle Chin hesitated for a moment before sighing. Qingji, I don't know if I should say this, but you need to keep a close eye on things at home. I knew he was hinting at something and pressed him for more information. He then told me everything. Your housekeeper is not trustworthy. She secretly takes things from the house and sells them, and she deliberately gets people to inflate prices and take kickbacks. I've caught her several times, and she threatened to break my legs if I said anything. And the driver, let me say a few more words. The housekeeper called him over and threatened to beat me to death. If it wasn't because you trusted me, I would have left long ago. That Scarlett, she acts like a young lady, often washing her feet and face with milk. Once, I saw her pouring it into the drain, and I advised her not to waste things, but do you know how she scolded me? She called me an old fossil, saying that a lowly peasant had no right to tell her, a young lady of wealth, what to do. I also often see her pushing and shoving Lily, hitting and scolding her at every turn. I was so angry that my face turned green and I immediately asked someone to investigate the vegetable vendors the housekeeper usually traded with and the driver's travel records. Then, I found my daughter Lily and asked her if Scarlett was always bullying her. At first, she hesitated to answer, but after I checked her phone and saw a provocative video, she told me everything in terror. In the video, she was held down in a corner by a group of girls who punched and kicked her, stuffing a dirty mop into her mouth and repeatedly poking her back with the mop handle. The mastermind was Scarlett Sue, the foster daughter I had been supporting for several years. Seeing this, I couldn't take it anymore and stormed into Scarlett's room. What is this? Explain yourself. Seeing the video, Scarlett's face instantly changed. Dad, I didn't do it. I was forced to do it. Seeing that she still refused to admit it, I just sneered. I took my daughter's hand and left the house, preparing to take her to the hospital for a checkup. Passing by the police station, I reported it immediately and presented all the evidence I had. The doctor looked grim when he gave me the report. Your daughter has multiple new injuries, and there are also many different kinds of old injuries, caused by blunt objects and sharp objects, and even marks made by fingernails. But the most serious is the wound on her calf, which has caused a slight fracture. I suggest you take good care of your daughter. I felt guilty and angry. Angry not only at the person who caused these injuries, but also at Lily's mother, Ashley. I couldn't believe that she, as her own mother, wouldn't know that her daughter was being bullied for so long. My daughter was receiving treatment, and I stood by her side. In the meantime, I received a call from the finance department. Boss, Ms. Lee recently transferred $30 million, saying it was for investment. When we audited it recently, we found that the signature on it didn't match your usual signature, and even the seal was fake. I was stunned. I didn't remember ever agreeing to let Ashley transfer such a huge sum of money. Nor had I signed any related documents. When I started the company, Ashley was just my secretary. After the company succeeded, we officially started dating and then got married. The company and everything at home had undergone prenuptial property notarization. But EY kept saying that I was restricting her and that she didn't want to be a stay-at-home wife, so I arranged for her to be the general manager of a branch company. But over the years, the performance of the other branch companies had been rising steadily, while the company she managed was always at the bottom, losing tens of millions of dollars each year. I didn't pay much attention to it, thinking it was just money for her to learn how to manage a business. But I didn't expect her to cause such a big problem. I told the finance department to take legal action directly and continue the thorough investigation. Coming out of the hospital, the car had not gone far when a Porsche suddenly swerved over and crashed into the front of my car. When I got out of the car to check the situation, I frowned when I saw the license plate of the Porsche. Wasn't this the car I had given Ashley as a birthday gift? How could it be here? A man got out of the car. Seeing me, he menacingly walked over with a baseball bat. How are you driving? Are you blind? Don't you see what kind of car this is? A Porsche! A poor wretch like you will never be able to afford one. I glanced at the car I was driving, worth no more than $20,000. It had been with me since I started my business, and I couldn't bear to replace it. No wonder the other party was so arrogant. I ignored his provocation and called Ashley directly to ask about the Porsche. Ashley paused for a moment, her tone guilty. Oh, that car, I'm driving it. Hanging up the phone, I called the police directly. The middle-aged man thought I was intimidated by him and became even more arrogant. Poor wretch. You're not leaving here today without paying me $1 million. When my daughter got out of the car and saw the man, she hid behind me in fear, her eyes filled with terror. I was puzzled and asked my daughter, "Have you seen him before?" My daughter burst into tears and trembled like a leaf. "He's Scarlett's father. He kicked me once when Scarlett was hitting me." Seeing my daughter, the middle-aged man's expression immediately became twisted. "So it's you, you slut. Looks like I didn't hit you hard enough last time. You're so young and already know how to seduce men. Like father, like daughter. Only your good-for-nothing father could give birth to a daughter like you." I wanted to call the police, but the man snatched my phone and smashed it on the ground, then stomped on it. Still want to call the police? Do you think the police will believe you, a poor wretch, or me? Because the traffic was blocked, many people came over to advise me to pay some money and let it go. Young man, it's no use even if the traffic police come. Your broken car isn't worth much. That's right. You're blocking the road and everyone can't get through. Why don't you each take a step back and pay a few thousand to settle it? He's driving a Porsche. You're driving a broken Ford. You can't beat him. Just treat it as a lesson learned. Seeing that the onlookers were on his side, the middle-aged man's arrogance grew even greater, acting as if he had me in his grasp. What he didn't expect was that one of the drivers on the road was my employee and called the police for me. The middle-aged man became enraged and was about to teach the employee a lesson when he suddenly received a call and his face changed. What? My mom and Scarlett have been taken to the police station? 5. The middle-aged man didn't bother to demand compensation from me and drove off. But the police had just arrived and surrounded his car. "Officer, you're here just in time. This bastard deliberately damaged my car. Arrest him quickly. I have things to do and can't stay." He thought the police would protect him, but they didn't even look at him and wrote down his license plate. "Sir, you are not only suspected of deliberately swerving and blocking traffic, but you are also suspected of a car theft case. I'm afraid you can't leave." The middle The aged man turned pale with fright. Car theft case? How is that possible? This car is mine. The police looked him up and down and then came to me. Did you call the police? This gentleman says the car is his. You said in your report that the car is yours. Please show us the car's registration and purchase invoice. I calmly provided the police with the documents they needed. After looking at them, they immediately had the middle-aged man detained. This gentleman has proven that he owns this Porsche. The evidence of your car theft is conclusive. Please come with us to the station. The middle-aged man was stunned and looked at me in disbelief. The car is yours? Impossible. It's my wife's car. The onlookers were instantly abuzz with excitement. I can't believe it. This gentleman looks ordinary, but it turns out he's the owner of the Porsche. Today was an eye-opener. The fake owner ran into the real owner. Isn't that like shooting yourself in the foot? This kind of person deserves it. He was so arrogant just now, and now he's so pathetic. The wind shifted immediately, and everyone was righteously indignant and taking my side. The middle-aged man lost his arrogance and frantically made a phone call. I faintly heard him saying, "Wife, isn't that Porsche yours? Hurry up and take care of it, or I'll be arrested at the station. Also, Mom and Scarlett have been taken to the police station." He hung up less than a second before I received a call from Ashley. "Honey, where are you?" "Honey, my driver just called me and said my car was in an accident on the road. What a coincidence that it crashed into your car. Isn't there some kind of misunderstanding? Since when did you hire a driver? I didn't know about this." Faced with my question, Ashley stammered and couldn't explain clearly. I didn't listen to her rambling and hung up. Soon, the car and the man were taken away by the police, and I was asked to go to the police station to cooperate with the investigation. 2 cases in one day, both involving particularly large sums of money. The police already recognized me. They also explained the results of the 2 cases to me. Scarlett Sue was under 18 and could not be detained, but she would definitely have a criminal record, which would affect her for the rest of her life. As for the housekeeper and the driver, based on the clues and evidence I provided, the evidence of their theft of private property was conclusive, and their only outcome would be imprisonment. Those who participated in beating my daughter would not escape legal responsibility either. During that time, several parents called me, wanting me to drop the charges and offering some money to settle the matter. I refused outright. I don't need the money, I just want those who bullied my daughter to face the consequences. I had just finished being questioned when I saw Ashley rush into the police station, looking flustered. She didn't see me sitting in the distance, but anxiously inquired about the middle-aged man and Scarlett Sue and the others. "Officer, there must be some misunderstanding here. They are all my family members. How could they be thieves? Both of them are my daughters. It's impossible for family to bully family, right?" She kept trying to defend Scarlett Sue. "Officer, you see, she's just a teenager. It's normal for sisters to bicker and play around, isn't it?" The officer's expression was displeased as he showed her Lily's injury report from the hospital. "As a mother, take a good look at your daughter's medical report. Multiple old injuries, a slight fracture in her shin bone. You consider this ordinary play?" Ashley continued to protect Scarlett Sue. "It's not that serious. I will definitely give my eldest daughter a stern talking to when we get home." The officer waved his hand, pointing to me in the distance. "You'll have to discuss this with your husband. He filed the police report, and he made it clear that he won't accept any reconciliation." The moment Ashley saw me, her eyes became strained. "Honey, what are you doing? Scarlett is just a 15-year-old child. Do you want to ruin her life? And Aunt April and Uncle Ken are so old, how can they withstand this kind of ordeal? They've been diligent and hardworking these past 2 years. How can you bite the hand that feeds you? Drop the charges immediately and take them home." Her last sentence was almost a command. I laughed right then and there. "You're afraid of ruining Scarlett Sue's life, but aren't you afraid of Lily becoming withdrawn forever because of this? Also, who is the man driving my Porsche? Your personal driver?" Seeing my stern expression, Ashley lowered her head in fear. "Honey, I'll explain this to you later when we get home. Let's get the police to release them first. Let's not delay their work, okay? Even at this point, she was still protecting a group of outsiders. I told her my decision directly. Impossible. These people not only stole from my house and beat my daughter like that, but you expect me to be grateful to them? At this moment, the police brought the middle-aged man over as well. When he saw Ashley, he grabbed her hand like she was his last lifeline, begging, "Honey, you're finally here. Please save me." Ashley's face changed instantly upon hearing this term of endearment. "Daniel Sue, what nonsense are you talking about? Who's your wife?" Ashley desperately tried to distance herself. I was also stunned by Daniel Sue's wife. A driver calling my wife? Seeing me looking at her, she explained guiltily. "Honey, he's just saying crazy things out of desperation. He's just my driver, don't listen to him." Daniel Sue immediately became anxious. "Honey, what are you doing? Why are you suddenly denying me? We were together last night. Last night you were in my arms, saying that after the new company was established, we could be together all the time." Ashley became enraged upon hearing this and pushed him away. "What nonsense are you spouting?" She then tightly grabbed my sleeve, constantly explaining. "Honey, you have to believe me, I really have nothing to do with him. I was working overtime at the company last night." Just then, a car stopped outside the police station, and 2 officers escorted 3 people out of the car, Scarlett Sue, the nanny, and the driver. Seeing Daniel Sue and Ashley, Scarlett Sue rushed up to them crying, "Dad! Mom!" Ashley's face changed again, her first reaction was to push Scarlett Sue away. Scarlett Sue was caught off guard and fell to the ground. Daniel Sue immediately became anxious, helped his daughter up, and roared at Ashley. "Are you even human? She's your own daughter." The nanny, April Sue, in a fit of anger, also rushed up and pushed Ashley. "You scoundrel! You dare hit my granddaughter! You don't deserve to be my Sue family's daughter-in-law." The 2 were about to get into a brawl when the police managed to pull them apart in time. Faced with such a chaotic situation, the police couldn't figure out what was going on. I watched all of this with a cold eye. Scarlett Sue looked at Ashley tearfully. "Mom, why don't you acknowledge your daughter? What did I do wrong? When you picked me up, you told me that I was the older sister, and Lily was just my younger sister, that this was my home from now on, and that I was your most beloved princess. You also said that everything in the house was mine, and I could do whatever I wanted. When David Chin passes away one day, you and Dad can inherit his assets, and our family of 5 can be reunited." Hearing this, the color drained from Ashley's face, and she shook her head and roared, "You're talking crazy! When did I ever say that?" I chuckled in anger. So this family had been planning this all along. Not only were they bullying my daughter, but they were also eyeing my assets. Daniel Sue went all out. "Ashley! I never saw what kind of person you were from the beginning, you poisonous woman. You abandoned your 1-month-old daughter and then came back saying you wanted to give our family a good life, living in a mansion and driving a Porsche, and even had my parents move in to take over the place. You told them to treat it as their own home, but now? You actually called the police to arrest them." Daniel Sue looked at me with a mocking expression. "Kid, you think you married a good wife? She's my wife. She went to work in the city less than a month after giving birth to her daughter and even changed her name." Ashley quickly rushed in front of me, constantly explaining, "Honey, don't listen to his nonsense. He's deliberately trying to frame me with the nanny. Don't be deceived by them." "Frame you? I have a family photo and a hospital birth certificate. You want to deny it?" Daniel Sue immediately presented all the evidence to the police. Watching Ashley argue with these people, a sense of exhaustion washed over me. But more than that, I felt a wave of lingering fear. If I had discovered this later, my daughters and my own lives might not have been spared. After many years of marriage, being betrayed by the person closest to me was heartbreaking, but I was also grateful that I could salvage the situation in time. When she was still my assistant, I felt that all her tenderness towards me seemed to have an ulterior motive. Once, I drank a lot at a business dinner with a client, and the next day I woke up in Ashley's bed. She cried and said that I had forced myself on her. Not long after, she became pregnant with my child. I had always been disciplined, and even when I drank, I would never easily get drunk. I remember that night, she handed me a hangover soup when she dropped me off at home, and then I found myself getting even more drunk and having a dry mouth. That's how the scene the next day happened. That's why I took the precaution of making a prenuptial agreement before getting married. I was grateful for my decision back then. Perhaps I didn't quite trust her at that time. I didn't expect that it was all her scheme. Ashley still wanted to argue with me, but I pushed her away harshly, not letting her get near my daughter. Ashley, we were husband and wife, let's part on good terms. We can only get a divorce. Ashley looked at me in disbelief. Seeing that my eyes were firm, her face became distorted. David Chin, do you think you're so great? Yes. I was indeed after your money when I got together with you, and I did put drugs in your drink that night. I thought I could be happier after marrying you, but what happened? We were rarely together. You only satisfied me materially, but when did you ever care about me? Don't forget, everything you own now belongs to marital property. You want a divorce? Fine, I don't want too much. Leave the house and car to me. I want 30% of the company's shares, and $50 million in cash. Her shamelessness even made the police officers present frown. I couldn't help but sneer. She seemed to have forgotten one thing. Ashley, do you remember that when we got married, we didn't get a marriage certificate? You said your household registration book was missing, and you also said that if two people love each other, why bother about that red book? Just then, the company's finance department called me again. I pressed the speakerphone. Boss, after checking the accounts, we found that the branch company managed by General Manager Ashley has been suffering losses, but they aren't real losses. Someone has been stealing production materials and embezzling public funds. They've been falsifying the accounts. It's estimated that the total value exceeds $80 million. If they can't return it, they'll be imprisoned for more than 10 years. Ashley was so frightened that she collapsed to the ground. Soon, the finance department sent all the evidence over. I immediately called the police. Honey, don't call the police. I was wrong. Give me another chance. I will be a good wife and love our daughter in the future. Ashley completely panicked and tried to beg me for mercy, but I kicked her away. Seeing that I was being heartless, she wanted to beg my daughter. The police, fearing that she would do something drastic, immediately detained her. Seeing that the situation had reached the point of no return, Ashley lowered her head, her face ashen. Her eyes still held a glimmer of hope as she looked at me. The Sue family, having vented their anger, couldn't help but clap their hands until the police also held them down and announced their crimes. Only then did this family realize the fate that awaited them. Scarlet Sue finally knew fear and kept begging, hugging my leg. Dad, I was wrong. I shouldn't have bullied my sister, and I shouldn't have been willful and made you angry. Please don't arrest my dad, grandma, and grandpa. I ignored her. Daniel Sue also tried to get me not to sue them. I glanced at the nanny and the driver. They were all involved in abusing Lily and constantly stealing things from my house. And Scarlet Sue's father, Daniel Sue, was even more despicable, even trying to conspire with Ashley to defraud me and harm me. I told the police directly that I would not reconcile. Soon, the Sue family was also escorted away. During this time, I felt guilty every time I thought about Lily no longer having a mother. But seeing the smile on her face grow, I felt relieved. In the days to come, my daughter and I would depend on each other. I would not only make sure she lived a better life, but I would also spend time with her often. No matter how busy I was, I would take the time to take her out. Everything related to Scarlet Sue in the house was cleared out to prevent Lily from remembering that unforgettable past. Scarlet Sue was expelled from school because parents reported her for bullying students and was put on the education system's blacklist. She went from being a high-ranking, well-fed princess to a homeless person who was poorly clothed and fed. She was eventually taken in by an orphanage, but she still didn't change her arrogant nature and continued to bully others, resulting in her being beaten into the hospital by a group of rebellious orphans. The nanny, April Sue, was sentenced to 10 years for theft, and the driver, Ken Sue, was an accomplice and was also sentenced to 10 years. Daniel Sue was sentenced to 15 years for participating in the sale of stolen goods, embezzling public funds, and a case of intentional injury. Ashley was sentenced to 10 years for embezzling public funds, but because she actively returned some of the money, she was given a lighter sentence. However, she couldn't withstand the disparity of prison life and eventually went crazy in prison. While playing with my daughter at the amusement park, my daughter smiled happily. After this period of treatment and nourishment, her shin bone fracture had healed, and her face was rosy again. Just as we were happily eating ice cream, I saw Scarlet Sue looking at us with a resentful expression, holding a sharp knife in her hand, causing a group of tourists to exclaim in alarm. She wanted to rush towards us, but the amusement park security guards reacted quickly and immediately stopped her. As they were preparing to send her to the police station, Scarlet Sue actually jumped out of the car halfway and was hit by an oncoming vehicle, dying on the spot. I covered my daughter's eyes and took her home. My daughter didn't seem to be affected by this incident. On the day of her dance competition, she won first place and ran into my arms with the trophy, looking very happy. "Dad, I got first place." I touched her head and gave her the most comforting affirmation.